Hi, my name is Rachel Dunn and welcome to the Million Dollar Women video series. I'm really excited for you to meet this beautiful woman, Glory St. Germain, and she's based in Canada. And this is just going to show you that no matter where you are, what you've done, you can create a $1 million business. And what I love about this interview series is you will learn from a bunch of women that have different backgrounds, they've had different training, different paths, different beliefs that they've had to overcome to create a $1 million business. Now, Glory has an incredible background, a background story. She's going to share with you goals that you want to listen to. And if it resonates with you, definitely implement, because she's started from creating music theory books. She's created her own process to help people with learning difficulties around learning music theory. I don't know about you, but I grew up learning the piano and I didn't have a good experience. I found it very difficult to learn and I found that it was boring. I really didn't like the classical music that I was given as a kid. And my teacher was really impatient. She was used to working with classical maestro, amazing people. And she just was so impatient when I would get things wrong all the time, which made me nervous and not want to go. And so I absolutely love what Glory's created in her business and her legacy and what she's created. You wait until you hear the things that she's got planned. So this interview is going to inspire you so much. So let's get started. Hey, Glory, thank you so much for joining me on the other side of the world. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. It's very early here, so I haven't quite had my coffee, but I'm all excited to chat with you about how you can share with our audience about making a $1 million business, some games that they might be able to play to expand their mindset, and just a great conversation around anything. Yeah, we'll go through the process, and I can't wait to hear your story.
Absolutely.
All righty. So, Glory, please tell us about your incredible business. You are an inspiring teacher, and you've created an incredible process to help people that have had difficulty learning music. And I'm one of those people. So please tell us a little bit about your company.
Sure. So my company is Ultimate Music Theory. And I started off creating some worksheets that turned into books. And, as an educator, I'm really passionate about sharing education. So one book turned into two, turned into three. And now I've written over 50 books in music theory. And as I shared this knowledge of providing information through workbooks, I realized that teachers didn't really have anywhere to learn how to teach. So then we created our Ultimate Music Theory online courses for educators. And one thing grew and the next thing grew. And, here we are today and we're continuing to grow. So it's pretty exciting.
And so tell me about the very first worksheet or workbook that you had. How long ago was that?
It was actually, it seems like many millions of years ago, but in fact, it was only 10 years ago. I started writing some worksheets by hand and scotch taping in, the staff paper. And I still have those. And I have my very first book that I wrote. And I just really wanted to help my students learn is how it started. Then I had to, go through the means of, learning how to publish a book and what's an ISBN number. And there's so much learning and uploading here and how do you get it printed and shipping and how do you sell the books to retailers? Like it just kind of grew. I think the good thing was, Rachel, is that I actually didn't know anything, because if I would have known then all the things that I had to learn, I think it would have been overwhelming. So honestly, sometimes I think not really knowing too much is a good thing.
And so when you created your business, did you have the goal or the desire that you wanted to create a successful business, creating $1 million plus in your company? Like, is that a goal that you had?
Always. What's interesting is I've been a goal setter my entire life. Every year I would get a new and I didn't really realize this until I was really deeper into business. Every year I would take my new calendar, I'm a teacher and we love our calendars. And I would write at the back all of the things that I want to accomplish that year. And I never realized that there was a real purpose, but it was just a little game I would play with myself. Like, what do you really aspire to do? And every single day I would just read that thing at the back. And then sometimes I would get to check things off. And that would give me such an adrenaline rush. You know, I've run marathons and I wrote it down. And at that time I was like 200 pounds and I got a trainer and, you know, so I achieved that goal. Whew, lost the weight, ran the marathon. So I think the biggest thing is goal setting. And I think my first goal was probably not 1 million, even though I knew that it would be there. It was probably 100,000. And then it's almost, I think as far as advising someone like, well, what would you suggest? I would say, don't write down, if you're starting out, don't write down, I want $1 million, because your mind is going to tell you, you're not going to do it. You know, you need to set like achievable goals. So I would say I wanted 100K. Okay. And then 200 and so on. And so eventually I went, oh, let's put that number a little higher. I think I always knew I was going to get there, but it was a process.
And how long do you think it took you from the start when you think I want to create $1 million business to when you actually did?
I think the process was probably 7 years.
Yeah.
It was 7 years of really digging deep and learning exactly what does it take. And the number one thing to get to that place is mindset. Because when you're just trying to hit, you know, 6 figures, it's one mindset. When you're kind of in the middle, it's another mindset. And when you finally hit, you know, the million, the mindset now, you don't think about, oh, could I do 1,100,000? Now it's, well, can I do 2? Can I do 3? And then everything grows from there. And you need to have the right people on your team. You know, since you and I have become friends, you know, I've added 2 more people onto my team. And today I have an interview to add another person. So our team is growing, you know, from 10, and I'm careful. Lots of lessons along the way, believe me.
And how do you feel that, what is the mindset? Because mindset has only been around as a word for only a short space of time.
Yes.
When you were, say, at the beginning at the $100,000 business, what's the different, how are you thinking then as a business to what you're thinking now?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because Carol Dweck really studied mindset in the early 1970s. And that's really when I just became aware of it. And the more I studied about, you know, growth mindset versus fixed mindset, I realized that there is a true shift. I've always been the person that says, why? It's just been in my nature. I think it's how I was raised, you know, ask questions. But I think that the mindset is really important. And it's also important to read. I'm an avid reader. You know, you've shared books with me. Hey, Glory, get this. And I buy it and I read it because it gives me purpose. And, you know, there's gratitude there too. I think the other thing that's really big is not only my mindset, which is growth, and I love to learn, but it's also gratitude. And the more grateful I am, the more things I get. And it's almost frightening. Like, be careful what you wish for, because when you live your life in a state of gratitude and positivity and healthy living, I mean, I'm vegan, so, you know, I want everybody in the world to be healthy. But I think mindset is the key to growth.
Great. And what's your one mindset hack then that you would share? Like, what's one thing that's helped you the most?
I think the one thing, and actually this is my quote, and I say this often, and that is that goal setting with accountability and direction is the greatest motivation for successful achievement. And it comes in that package. And I think you need to sit down. Here's a little one thing that I do want to share, Rachel. And I think this is really important. As you know, I write in my gratitude journal every day, but it's not just about writing in the gratitude journal. It's about having quiet time to process. You know, as a business owner, sometimes, you know, people that are working, they go to work, they come home, they do laundry, they make supper, they look after the kids, they watch TV for an hour, and then the next day they go to work, and it's on a repeat cycle. I think the absolute key factor for being an entrepreneur at this level is having alone time to think, to process, to study, if you have a growth mindset, you're always open, you're coachable. And I'm very coachable. Like, give me anything and I'm happy to learn it and implement it. But that truly is the mindset. If you want to get there, you have to have a growth mindset, but you also have to take time to study and process trust the process, as they say. Go through it just one step at a time. It's all there for you, and learn from the experts. You know, I I'm sorry, universities, but I'm going to say this out loud. When I studied and grew my business, I learned from the experts who were already there. I went and, did my ARCT and received my music diploma and all that as a teacher. But more importantly, I learned from the experts that are one step ahead of me. And then when I catch up, then I go find another expert, because that's how you grow.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So did you tell me a little bit about how you grew up? Did you grow up around money in your family?
Well, I would say we're probably a middle class is how I grew up. But I think my greatest inspiration for becoming an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life since like the day I was born. And the reason is because my mother only had a grade 8 education. And my dad, I think he had grade 10. So how did they go from a grade 8 education, living on a little trailer on a farm with their parents, to owning a business, to building their empire? My mother is probably the person who had more courses under her belt than anyone else I ever knew. She was the head buyer for a national chain in Canada. She was always an entrepreneur that never had any doubts. She would just keep learning. She was a real estate agent. She did this, she did that. And I saw her do all these things. And at the age of 16, she said, well, you should be teaching. And so I started teaching at 16 and was constant. And I realized then, I'm making 5 times more money than my friends that are babysitting because I'm an educator. And so things started to really elevate. But I don't think my parents ever said, money doesn't grow on trees. That was never an attitude. It was always endless possibilities and just dream big. And to this day, I have a little card in my wallet and it says, dream big. It's a little poem my mom had in her apartment. And when she passed away, I kind of took it and put it in my wallet. But she was a dreamer and she was just, she knew my success story and she'd been there with me before she passed away. But I'm very grateful for that family upbringing that I had. Truly grateful.
That's beautiful. So you just going back through that. So your family weren't about boundaries. It was just they encouraged you early to get a job or to teach. And then
Yes.
from there you grew and you just watched and learned and thought, that's what I want to be like.
Absolutely. There was never limits. My father put himself through university later in life so he would become a chartered accountant. He drove a taxi cab. Like, it's whatever you need to do to get what you want in life and what brings you joy. That's the biggest thing for me. What lights you up? I worked as a camp counselor for many years during the summer for underprivileged kids that couldn't really afford to go for camp. And it was a YMCA camp. I learned so much from them, how grateful they were. Just when I would bring like stickers and little crafts that, I just provided out of my own money just because it would be fun. And I think it's very important to give back to the community. And I was happy to do it. I loved every minute of it. And my father, who is also a multi-instrumentalist, used to play at Shalom Mission, which is a home for homeless people. And he would go there and he would share his music, his love of music. And I think they really taught me the importance of giving back to the community. And, the thing is that there's so much in the world, like it's limitless. And if you think like you can't achieve that, well, then you can't. Because if I say I'm going to do this, I know that I'm going to do it. I'm not only determined, but I understand that it's possible. And when you believe that, the sky's the limit.
I love that. That's so inspiring. And that's exactly how I feel. It's like, go after, dream big, It's just, and then believe it. It's possible.
Yes.
The next thing that happens is people go, no, I can't do it, or it's not going to happen to me, or something like that. Wonderful. So talk a little bit about beliefs around money. So share with me, because I'm sure that you've always had an expanded view, but there must be times where you've had some stubborn beliefs there that you didn't know were there that may have stopped your growth. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I think there was a few years when I had, hit the multiple 6 figures, but just kind of stayed there. And the mindset, I think at that time was, yay me, I did this, but then I'm just probably not good enough, not smart enough, don't have the resources, afraid to invest further. I'm going to be straight up with you, Rachel. When I first became a publisher, I cashed in all my RSPs, like every single penny I had on the planet. And I invested it in my business with 100% belief that I'll never retire because it's gone. absolutely no regrets. But the belief system was, well, am I comfortable? Am I just here? And is this as good as it's going to get? I learned a lot of really tough lessons along the way with, investing in things that were probably not profitable. Having a bookkeeper and trusting that they were doing their job when I should have been in there. So there's a lot of things that I think held me back. And I think there was just that one point in my life when, it's almost like you got to hit rock bottom. I was, $100,000 overdrawn in my account, and that was my limit. And so I hit rock bottom. It was, well, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that's when I got mad. And not at anyone else. I got mad at myself. And I remember calling my son, and these were my exact words. I said, I'm going to fire myself unless I hit six figures, multiple six figures, get out of the line of credit, do this and this. And I was angry. I said, I'm going to fire myself, because if I'm the CEO of the business and it's tanking, whose fault is that? So anyway, once I had that mindset, I started working my butt off. And the one thing on my mind was cash flow. Every single day, I would wake up and say, what are you doing today to generate cash flow into your business? Okay, I can do this. All right, and then go do it. And so that kind of propelled me. And I think the greatest thing, Rachel, is that it started happening. And it happened even faster than I thought it would happen. And the more it came to me, the universe does funny things, doesn't it? When you take one step, it takes five. And you take one, and it takes another five. And pretty soon, boom, not only was the line of credit paid off, but now all of a sudden, I'm in the blue, and then it's going green. And I'm like, now it's just party time. So it was a rough go, but I think it was that tipping point for me when I realized, as a business owner, you need to make sure that you are really watching your finances. I've invested in a lot of things I shouldn't have. I didn't have a mentor at that time. I wish I would have. It would have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I didn't. So as they say, I learned the hard way, which honestly, Rachel, is why I created the Elite Educator Program, because there's a lot of educators out there that have a mindset to, maybe create an online course. Maybe they want to write a book. Maybe they want to do something, and they're just like, where do I start? And I'm like, right here, honey, let me help you, because I don't want you to go through all that pain, nor do you have to take 10 years to figure it out. So that's why I do what I do. Gone through it, and they're done that.
Thank you for sharing. That's really valuable lesson. So if you're watching, really listen to that. If things are tough, what can you do each day to bring cash flow into your business? And a lot of people like to palm it off to other people, or think, yep, I'm just going to think about it and not take any action. You have to take the action. So I love that. Really great. So I'd love to hear about your pathway. Once I remember reading a post many years ago about the exact steps and the important lessons from becoming from, say, $100,000 business to $1 million business. So talk to me about your pathway from, we've gone over a few of those steps, but just your pathway from 100K to $1 million.
Well, I think the steps for me were that I published a book, and then realized that not only could I just sell my book online, but I could sell it to dealers. So, step one is create your product. And then you need to believe in it and always test the market. So I was really giving it to a few teachers to test it. So as I was on my pathway, I reached out to dealers, and when dealers were on board, then I would go out and do workshops. And then the more workshops I would do, the more books I would sell. And as I grew the business, I realized, if I'm selling here, why can't I sell on Amazon? So that took about a year to put 51 books on Amazon. It's all different formatting, and that was, another investment, but well worth it. So it's residual income. Now every month, if you go to bookdepository.com, you can get free shipping and buy my book anywhere in the world. There's nothing, this is really just income that comes in every month, and it's great. Here's your check. So I think that really helped elevate it. And then when I created the online courses, so I think a business has to grow in steps. Oftentimes you see businesses that create this multitude of product, and then they have no direction. So number one, narrow your niche. And you really need to know who is your avatar, who is your customer, number one, and know them well. Talk to that one person, which I did. I just talked to that one teacher. And as I understood her better, I realized I needed to create a course. because that would really elevate it. And that's really when, again, not only was I providing this educator with the education to become a fabulous educator, but now this person has become my customer. So I'm actually charging this customer to understand how to learn how to teach the product. And now they're buying the book because now they've learned how to teach it. So it was really a pretty brilliant way of, creating the program. And now we have, another tier, which is the elite educator. Now these are for business owners that want to build courses and so on. So I think the pathway is, number one, define your avatar and grow with your business, but please leave out that step of pain right now. And that is, I call it Accounting Sunday. Every single Sunday, I do my own books. I see what's going on every single week, bar none. What's the revenue coming in? What's the revenue going out? Oh, I should check on that, because sometimes you forget, even if you wait a month. And the other thing is, there's a fabulous book called Profit First that I may have told you about, by Mike Michalowicz. And I read that book when I was down in the dumps. And I remember reading it, and it said, you need to put 1% of whatever your gross revenue is for the month into a profit account, 1%. So if you've made $5,000, you're going to put $50 in there. You're not going to miss $50 out of 5,000.
Yeah.
And remember my horrible financial situation at the time, but I went, well, he said to do it, so I'll do it, which was putting me almost deeper. But because of that, that was a habit, every single month, put it in there. Well, obviously now it's grown and I never touch it. It's just there, and there's multiple other things. But I think it's really, really important to write down your steps, So if you have a goal, would be my advice. This is what you want. And then think backwards. Okay, what will it take me to get there? Okay, and then what will it take me to get there? And then break it down, because sometimes it gets more scary when you're thinking about, what do I have to do this week? But break it down into stages for sure. And success is there. Just make sure you connect with the mentor. Absolutely.
I love that. And also I find sometimes you can have too many opinions coming from different directions. And that can be really hard for people, because they've got one coach telling them to do this and invested in somebody else. It's like, what I would suggest is believe in yourself and trust yourself, and if you've got so many people telling you all these things, it's like you haven't trusted in yourself enough to believe in that one person that's helping you.
Yes.
There's this,
I have a story to tell you. I'm so glad you said that, Rachel. So here's my glory, most embarrassing moment. So I'm a teacher, and all my students have me as their one teacher. And when I started to, get a little excited about, well, I need somebody to help me with marketing and strategic planning and artwork and all of this. So I landed up just what you said, Rachel. I had 4 coaches. All of them were really different. I loved every one of them. They were completely different. And as I was talking to one coach, she's a branding expert, and she's local here, and she came into my office, and I said, oh, and you know what, so-and-so told me, and so-and-so told me, and then I said, so what do you think about it? And then she just stopped me dead in my tracks. And I'll never forget this day. It was the best lesson I ever learned. And she said, so Glory. I said, yes. She said, so how would you feel if your student showed up for a piano lesson and said, oh, well, so-and-so told me I should do it this way, and then the other lady said I should play it like this, and then I would say, well, then maybe you should go to the other teacher, because I'm your teacher and that's not how I do it. She said, exactly. She said, pick a coach. Bye. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was but you know what? You're so right. And I tell people that within our membership, we also have a coaching program. And I tell them straight out, this is the only place you need to go. And if you don't want to work with me as your coach, then go find somebody else, because it doesn't work. Like even you think of the greatest athletes in the world, they have a coach. That's who they listen to. It doesn't mean you can't read a book. It just means that this is who you have to trust, and you have to trust the process, because if they've done it, believe me, their heart is there. There's nothing I want more than for every one of my students to make more money than I do. That's the success story, right? When your students, go past you. But that was a tough lesson. But I'm glad she taught me that, because you're right.
I see it all the time, and it's very frustrating when you're talking to people. That's why I'll say, look, finish with that person. Come on board when you finish, because it's just more and more coaches out there, the more and more people are having multiple coaches, and it's very difficult and confusing.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah, trust in yourself and your own value and your own intuition. So what are the 3 biggest challenges that you had personally to reach $1 million?
Probably the three biggest challenges were understanding the direct path to achieve that. You know, selling a book doesn't do it. Neither does selling two books. But when you think bigger, when I started to think globally, I mean, I'm in Canada. So initially I started selling books in Canada. And then when I gained a little more confidence and could reach out to retailers, that I went, oh, okay, I can speak now. I mean, at first I was so shy, but then I would begin to reach out. And then I reached out to the US market. And then I reached out to the global market. So I think the mindset was, here's the possibilities, and then setting the goal and watching it, right? Always being aware of what else do I need to do. And I think another big factor was, how can I cut down my costs, right? On printing. Well, maybe if I print more books at once, or there's a lot of things you need to go through. You know, you can get ISBN numbers for free. Oh, well, why am I paying $85 when I could get it myself for free? So there was a lot of learning steps in there, but certainly once you're on the constant, and I know we talked about this before, but when I have a big sticky note, actually it's on my wall right there, and that sticky note says contact 5 people per day. 5 people. It's not a lot, only 5. But reach out to 5 people, whether you call them or whether you email them or whether you message them on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever your connecting factor is, just 5 people a day. And I think about that, now, even if you take 2 days off a week, that's still 25 people a week that you've reached out to, new people, follow up. I think that's the key factor. And the other thing is developing relationships. The retailers that purchase my books, and Barnes and Noble, and, all over the world, I have relationships with every one of those head buyers. They know my first name, they know my family, develop relationships. And that really I know I can call them up and say, hey, haven't heard from you for a while. How are things going? I know you were going on a trip. How's your daughter doing? I know them personally. And that is what really helps build your business. So if I call them and say, listen, I'm doing a webinar, I'd love to share it with your list. Oh yeah, Gloria, of course. So again, now it's just elevating, your business.
I love that. And going back a step with your books, because you came up with a process, and I guess that's also the key, that you have a signature process that you have created to help people. So you've created a process, so it's unique. It's
Absolutely.
Not just a normal theory book. It's actually how people learn quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So I've studied NLP, which is neuro is how we think, linguistic is how we communicate, and programming is how you get the results that you get. And it's very important. And so, going back to when I was 16 and started teaching, and I was so frustrated, and I didn't even teach theory. I taught piano. I just gave everybody to somebody else. Number one, because I didn't understand it. There was just nothing there that I found easy. And so that's when I decided.
Same when I was learning.
It's just and it wasn't fun. It just was not fun. And I thought, well, there's got to be a better way, as they say. So as I started writing my worksheets and my students were learning easily, I implemented and I studied how to write effective books for learning. So did you know? And in my research, I found that books can actually be, and this may surprise you, detrimental to your learning. No one was more surprised than me when I read that. And they talked about the formatting of a page, how to outline information, why things should be indented, when to use bold. Like, I actually studied how to write a book for effective learning. And that's why the workbooks are so successful. You don't just go, oh, it's a theory book. There's a lot more to it. There's actually 9 mnemonic devices that we've incorporated. So a mnemonic device is a memory jogger, right? Something that helps you remember things. And there's actually 9 mnemonic devices that we've incorporated into the workbooks. And that's why people learn faster and retain the information. So it is, in fact, a process. And as you're going through each one, at the end of every lesson is an accumulative review test. So it's not just that you're learning this and then you kind of forget about that by the time you get to lesson 7, but you're constantly building knowledge. And like any business and relationship, there has to be layers of learning and developing, whether you're a musician or whether you're, manufacturing, or same as yourself when you're creating, one of your B-rolls for, an A-lister. There has to be a process, and they have to understand that this is how it works. You can't get here until you do the steps.
Absolutely.
And I'm passionate about doing that. And it's how we created our certification course as well, is just those steps. People say, well, I want this. I went, well, yeah, but you have to start here. You know,
Absolutely. And I say that to people that go Facebook Live and it's like, I don't have any followers yet. Everyone that is successful online that has multiple millions of followers started with zero.
Exactly.
Zero. I love that. Do you have a money game, or I love this because I'm all about helping people creatively to shift their money mindset. And I love to find out from million-dollar women like yourself, are there any games or mindset thing that you could share with the audience so they can start doing it now to shift their mindset around money?
Yes. So this is definitely a game that I play with myself.
Great.
So here's what I do. I set a monthly goal for myself. Well, first I have to do the year map. Okay, what are we going to do this year? And then when are we going to make that? And what I do is I actually have a reward system and then a penalty system. And the reward system might be something as simple as me getting to do my nails so they look as fabulous as yours. It's not a big, woo, right? Here's a piano teacher, no nails. But it might not be, you know, oh, I want to go buy a new car or something. It's just something really little. And if I get my goal, then I get to go get my nails done like you. If I don't, then I'm going to say, okay, then instead of letting the cleaning lady come on Tuesday, guess who's going to be cleaning? And that is not happening because that's not my thing. So you have to, or maybe you're going to, I don't know, donate, $100 to something but you need to be accountable to yourself. Because I think if you just set goals and there's no consequences, well, then if you don't get it, it's like, oh, well, but that's not okay. You have to have the rewards and the consequences, because if you grow, take that back, when you grow and achieve that, you got to have a little something there. And nothing gets me more pumped. And, you know me pretty well by now. I get really excited when you achieve that, and you need to really celebrate every single goal. I celebrate everything. If I have a great coaching call, I get off and I just say, you know what? Thank you. That was a great coaching call because I know I served that community. And just for that, you get to go have a cookie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
but you want, celebrate, right?
What's the best reward you've given yourself?
Oh, the best reward I've given myself was I bought a brand new white convertible. It was a Z24, and I bought that. It was probably, looking back now, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I've had a number of convertibles.
What was the reward? Like, what was the milestone you hit to buy that?
Oh, I had to do 500K.
Yeah. Cool.
And then I was like, okay. And then I just went and said, okay, this is, I deserve this. And, I pay myself every month. That's all good. But it was just that little bonus perk. And so, so I think it's fun to set that. And it was funny because I remember driving just the very, out of the showroom, top down, and, hair blowing and putting my shades on. And it was just a glory moment. Ha ha ha. But I was I'll never forget that feeling, and some of the other things have just been like going to Hawaii. I'm a runner, so just run down the beach. And so, I love setting goals, because I think the biggest thing is that you have to envision it. And for myself, I've gone down to the showroom just so I could sit in the car to feel the leather on the steering wheel. If you're, whatever you aspire, if you want to buy yourself a new, very expensive coat, well, then go try it on and then take a picture of yourself, right? And then you can look at it, because you need to have the vision. And, my next thing is I want to buy a beach house on the ocean. And so I'm envisioning, I'm running down the beach every day. I can see it, and it's going to happen. That's 2021. And
love it. Can't wait to celebrate with you.
Yes. Yay.
Well, yes, we've just moved into a house that we've been having on the vision board. So I absolutely know what that's like. And it's just so exciting when it happens, and you just sit there and you just think, yeah, this feels good,
Yes.
So,
Yes, and you deserve it. I mean, and all the beautiful things that are around you and that you share with me, I mean, congratulations to you, because you are a success story all in itself. You should do an interview with yourself, because you're just that much fun, and you're an inspiration too. You know, we've been friends for a while, and just even in our conversations, you inspire me, you drive me. And, you know, I shared with you before we started the interview today, just because we had our little chat, I'm like, you know what? Rachel's right. I'm going to do that. And so thank you for that. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Well, that's what it's about, being around people that are like-minded to stretch you as well, because sometimes you've got these spots you don't see. And when you have people that are honest and can say, hey, I've noticed this, check this out, it makes such a difference. So
yes. I want to add one thing, Rachel, that you were just talking about there that I think is really important. And that is this, that when you are an entrepreneur and, you know, you talked about reaching goals and you said, well, how did you get there? One thing that I had to do, and sometimes it can be painful, but it's truly the only way that I see you can be there. And that is, you need to hang around with people that are at a higher level than you are, that you can start to understand their mindset. You know, it's one thing to be a mindset of, oh, I want to do, you know, 6 figures. It's another thing to do a mindset of, I want to be 7 figures. And it's another mindset to become a multiple 7-figure business. So in each one of those, I would say you need to step away from friends and family. You know, don't ask their advice on your marketing design. Are they experts? No. You don't ask them about your medical condition, do you? Are they a doctor? No. So I think I've seen repeatedly where people have said, well, I asked my husband, and I'm like, oh my God, what? Is he an expert? No, then don't ask him. You need to definitely surround yourself. And it's why I'm always in a community of people that are, you know, doing more than I, or things that I want to learn about, because that's how you're going to grow. Number one, go hang out with people that are here, and then just learn. What are their rituals? What do they do first thing in the morning? Oh, wow, Glory. So you read your gratitude journal and you do some stretching. And so this is a routine. It's not just like, oh, I should try that. No, that's my life. You know, this is what I eat every day. And so I think really just, you got to make a change. In order for things to change, you have to change. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
I love it. And what's the biggest mistake that you made that you would have done differently? What's the one big mistake that you made? Because you learned.
Well, yep. The one big mistake that I made, and it was a very expensive mistake. Early on in my career as a publisher, I applied for a grant so that I thought, you know, grow my business quickly. I'm an entrepreneur. I take chances. I take risks. I'd already cashed in all my RSPs. What have I got to lose, right? So, you know, I received this grant. The problem with this was 2 things. Number one, the grant came with no advisor. It was just like, here's the money. Good luck with that. You qualified. But you also had to match the money. So now I had to go into more debt so I could match the money. And now you've got all this money, and the criteria is you have to spend that money. You know, that's all they care about. Did you invest? Did you do something? Without knowing anything. And so looking back, I would never do that again, because I think I just spent so much money on inventory without knowing anything about inventory management. Hundreds of thousands of books, a warehouse full. And remember, I've got 52 titles. So now what? Well, now you have to sell those books, but it doesn't work that way. Now, you know, Accounting Sunday, I reorder product almost every single week from my supplier. And, you know, yeah, what are we ordering this? So I owe nothing. Like Zippo, they know, oh, Glory just pays her bills. Like, I don't even worry about it. So I would say the biggest lesson I learned was, number one, not to manage inventory. And the second biggest thing was to really manage expenses. You know, you don't need, if you're in video production or even doing an online teaching, you don't need a million things. You do, Rachel, because you're a professional and that's your position. But if you're just talking about someone who wants to shoot a quick YouTube video, well, you don't have to spend any money. You got an iPhone, just take the damn picture, right? So I think we often think, and that's a stumbling block too. They go, well, I don't have the equipment. Yeah, you do. You just talk to me on FaceTime like you have a phone. So I think that was a very expensive lesson. And it cost me, I think, years of growth. Not just a short term, but it was years, because I had to get out of all that, pay all that money. I mean, that was a, a painful lesson. And so
really
again,
valuable to share.
if I would have had a mentor, that would never have happened, but I didn't. I was just.
Thank you for sharing that. And often those mistakes are the best, and you learn from those, and you never forget them.
That's true. No, I'll never do that one again. Now it's just all uphill from here on. And it's really so much fun. I think each time you get to that little next peak in the mountain, you got to stand at the top and go, woohoo, celebrate.
Absolutely. I love it. We're all about following your crazy ideas. We love to inspire people to follow their intuition or follow their just out there creative ideas. What would be something, now that you've reached that $1 million mark for your business and beyond, what would be the one thing you're following with your crazy ideas now? Have you got something in mind?
Crazy ideas? You mean for
crazy ideas or dreams or something really inspirational that is really big and grand? Could be giving back to a community. It could be having a concert somewhere. Or what is something that is big and grand that you'd love to do?
Big and grand that I love to do and am going to be doing, and you're going to be coming, is that I am going to have an ultimate music teachers retreat. It will be in Vancouver, Canada, and it is going to be the most amazing, spectacular weekend you've ever had in your entire life, because I want to invite guest speakers that are going to uplift the educators that come. We're also going to have me time with manicures and pedicures and massages. We're also going to, I want it to be a learning experience, but a full, professional and personal development time where we can learn and network with like-minded people. And it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've always wanted to, I've done a number of live events, but this one to me is the grand. I can already see it in some beautiful hotel with beautiful chandeliers, because I love chandeliers, and something that we'll do on the beach. Maybe we'll all have a picnic on the beach, but it is something that is going to be for growth professionally, but also for something that you can map out what is your dream. Because by the time you finish that weekend, I want you to have a 90-day goal plan completed with your action steps on how you're going to do it, by splitting people up into little groups. Okay, what are you guys? Okay, you are course creators. Okay, you want to do this. You want to do this. So let's just kind of break it up. So you have an opportunity to make those lifelong friends. I consider you a lifelong friend, and it's just amazing how the universe will connect you with people when you just open up yourself to receiving them. And so I can't wait to launch that. As a matter of fact, as we're heading into 2021, we are doing our, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 planning. And so I'm putting it into the plan, and hopefully, travel being allowed. Yes. It's definitely going to be happening there. So I can't wait. That's the big one. So.
And I want to hear, because that is a crazy idea, but I reckon there's one deeper than that. So talk about, I reckon, because you're all about giving back as well to community.
Absolutely.
And so what pulls your heartstrings, or what, you mentioned homeless people before, or people in need. What is it that pulls your heart around that area?
I think what pulls my heart around that area, and it's interesting that you said that, Rachel, because one of the educators, there's a number of them that are in our Lead Educator program. And one of them is in the Philippines, and the other one is in Zimbabwe. And they talk about the lack of instruments for children that truly want to learn. And for me, and I'm glad that you said that, because a project that I'm working on for 2021 is a way to take part of the profits, now that I'm there, to take a percentage of the profits, and you got to plan it. You can't just say, I'm going to give money here, but I've always wanted to have, my publishing company is called Gloryland Publishing, and I've always wanted to have the Gloryland Foundation. So that is huge, and you can't just say, I'm going to start a foundation. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of legal things that go into creating a foundation, and a lot of, bells and whistles and things that have to happen. but the Gloryland Foundation is absolutely my legacy that will live on, that will provide instruments and education for all people, that young children in particular, that really want to learn. And you have to have a desire, because if you don't have the desire, it doesn't matter how many piano lessons you go to or how many guitar lessons you go to, you're not going to learn because you're not interested. But if you really want to learn, I want to provide you with the tools so that, because music is universal. It doesn't matter, you know, if I'm speaking to someone in Zimbabwe or Hong Kong or China or wherever, music is the same language. The key of G major is the key of G major. And as a musician, if I say, hey, it's, you know, in the key of G, it's a 1-4-5 blues, boom, we play. And so I really want to provide that. So that's
the one I was after. I knew there was a good one there. And I got two eyes. So that sounds amazing.
Well, and you know, I'm glad that you asked me that, because the Gloryland Foundation has been on my, you know, my journal has been there for a really, really long time. And because of this conversation, and you know, I'm an action taker, and I am now going to take that step to move that forward, so that I need to explore, what does that look like? I know I've spoken to my lawyer about it, you know, some time ago, but he basically said, you're not ready. But now I am ready. And I think now I have the network and the support people. So I'm pretty excited. So thanks for adding one more thing to my to-do list.
That's exciting. Wow. That's I love that. That's really cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today and sharing your story about the things you've learned and the lessons that you can share. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? How can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to us at ultimatemusictheory.com. And now that you've put me on the spot, if you would like to donate to the Gloryland Foundation, providing music education for young people, maybe by the time you're watching this, I'll actually have a little button there and I'll work on that. But thank you for that. So ultimatemusictheory.com, and all the info is there, how you can reach us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for connecting today, and have a wonderful evening over there.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bye.